Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today's topic is going to be, is health anxiety hereditary? So, I'm going to get to that in a minute. As you see, I'm back home, and it's a gorgeous day, but it's really hot. It's up around 90, 88, somewhere in there. So, relax your body so that you can breathe. This isn't necessarily breath work, but it can get you out of the fight or flight response. Hand on your heart sometimes helps, feels like a hug from a loved one. All right. So is health anxiety hereditary? I'll say yeah, it is. But it's not genetic, I don't think. Some people would argue, oh, it comes, like people come out of the womb that way. Some people are colicky and they cry, and, I do believe that. I know people who their story is that they cried for the first 6 months once they were born, and other people, I was very blessed. My mom said I was happy as could be because she could leave me in the playpen and I'd sit there playing happy for hours. So I think a certain part of that is in our makeup, but I also think a lot of that may have something to do, I could be wrong and I'm open to input, may have something to do with the state of the mother during pregnancy. And if the mother's in a highly chaotic state during pregnancy, that baby is being grown with a high degree of adrenaline and cortisol and stress hormones, which may just very well start them out, pretty anxious. So it could be hereditary in that you're getting some of your nervous system and some of your disposition through the mother. And if the mother is in a high state of chaos during the pregnancy, that certainly makes sense to me. But I also believe that even if the pregnancy was not highly chaotic, but you were raised in chaos, that could also make you and your brain on high vigilance. And if there's any degree of health challenges growing up as a kid, whether it be yourself or watching a parent or sibling or loved one go through a lot of health challenges, that can raise the awareness of health as something perhaps to be afraid of, right? So I do believe that children can learn health anxiety from their parent. If a parent flips out every time the kid falls over and skins their knee, that kid's going to learn danger every time something happens that may affect their body. If the parents are like, you're going to be fine, get up, brush it off, we'll wash it off later, that child is going to be less anxious about health in general. So is it hereditary? I think it's a little combination, like I said, maybe some of it coming out of, the pregnancy and the stress hormones of the mom during. But after that, I believe the rest of it is mostly environment. We are taught to be anxious about health. We are taught to be dramatic. We are taught to be scared by those who are raising us and parenting us. Imagine this scenario. And I've seen it with my own kid when he was growing up. If a kid's running, trips and falls, first thing he does is gets up and looks at the parents. Should I be all right? Should I be concerned? And if the parent goes, oh my goodness, come here, my baby, the kid's going to immediately go, and start crying, right? That child was just taught that falling over equals bad, scary, you must react in a very, reactive way. However, same scenario, kid's running along, trips, falls over, kid gets up, looks, and the parent goes, "Ah, you're okay, brush it off, you'll be fine," the kid typically goes, "Oh, okay, they're not concerned, I don't need to be." They turn and run away, and they keep going, right? So a lot of how a child or a person becomes an adult handles health is taught to us through the experience of experiencing things and the disposition of those around us. So it's just something I really want you to think about, because if you are a health anxious adult, very concerned, very easily terrified, very reactive to, oh my goodness, I just felt something in my right elbow and I don't know what that was, so I better panic and spend 6 hours on the computer researching it. Be very aware of the influence of that on your family, and most particularly your children. Do you want to teach your children to be terrified of their bodies? Right? I don't think we do. I think we teach our children what we're trying to accomplish here in Pain Free You, which is trust your body. It knows what to do. You fall and skin your knee, body knows how to heal. Just wash it up, maybe put a Band-Aid on it. Trust the body. You don't need to be involved. It knows how to heal. The body really does have a wisdom to it, that if you feed it reasonably healthy stuff, you don't abuse it, it's going to take care of you. As evidenced by the fact that people live to be 90, 100 years old, and they're still around. So be reasonably attentive to your body, but not fanatical, not extreme, but take generally good care of your body. Move it, even if that's just a walk, maybe a little exercise. Eat reasonably good foods, and typically for me what that means is you eat the perimeter. Produce, meats, dairies, stay out of the middle aisles, because if there's a box with a barcode on it and 52 ingredients, it's made in a factory, it's not real food, and you never know what's in there. So that said, trust the body, teach the brain we're going to be okay, and be cautious and maybe thoughtful about who taught you to be so anxious about your own health. Was it a parent, a sibling, a grandmother? Right? And in some cases, if we're a little bit older and we're having some problems, are our children fueling the fire by being overly worried about us as parents? But then again, the question is, where did they get that from? Where did they pick that up? So I don't really have a definitive answer. Is health anxiety hereditary? Right? In utero, during pregnancy, I think that can have an effect. But I think the environment once you're born and our learned experiences as we experience people with various health issues will really drive somebody into health anxiety as an adult. And unfortunately, our medical system doesn't help, because you run into certain conditions, whether it be pain or something else. The medical establishment teaches us to be health anxious, because you walk into a doctor's office and say, I got this, and that symptom, and the first thing they want to do is run 42 tests, and they come out with all sorts of stuff. They go, looky right here, here's a problem. And then we become medicalized and traumatized by the medical system. And so even somebody who is raised without the chaos and without the health anxiety can get into that stage through their own personal experience, their own interpretations, and also their experience with the medical world. Because some doctors can create it pretty quickly. Oh boy, we've got a problem. Look right here on this report, or this MRI, or this X-ray. And then they give us these nocebos like, get used to it. This is the way you're going to be. Get used to your pain. Right? Horrible things to say to somebody with pain. Some people are actually told, yeah, and it's going to get worse as you get older. Horrible things to say. So there's all sorts of inputs into how we become health anxious. And I guess in closing, what I really want you to do is be aware of the fact that if you can become health anxious, you can become health trusting. Trust that your body knows what to do. Treat it reasonably well. Some movement, proper foods. There is no exact food, but generally we all know what good nutrition looks like, and we all know what junk food looks like. So reasonably decent nutrition. Move your body. Trust it. It knows what to do. Our fearful, scared thinking brain doesn't need to be involved. And so we can always teach ourselves how to be less health anxious by accurate knowledge and trusting the body. And especially as it relates to this mind-body stuff. Really important to know that TMS, perceived danger pain, perceived danger symptoms, mean, by definition, your body's fine. There's nothing to be health anxious about. It's a false alarm. So I hope that makes sense. And I'm not saying any of this stuff about be careful how you respond and teach health anxiety to your kids. I don't want to blame or shame anybody for doing that, but just be aware of it. And so if your child is having a health issue, do your best not to freak out. Do your best to reassure them calmly that you're going to be okay. The body knows what to do. You hurt yourself. You broke a leg. Something happened. You've got an illness. We're going to trust that the body knows what to do. We'll use the proper medical care if that is required. And leave your child believing that they're loved, they're cared for, and everything's going to be all right. Because if you freak out every time your kid has something wrong with them, you're going to teach them to be more and more health anxious, which may lead them to TMS, mind-body conditions, later in life. So awareness, not only of where it came from and how you became health anxious. And again, the good news is we can teach ourselves that we don't have to be, because we can teach ourselves to trust our bodies. But then also awareness of, what am I teaching my own kids? Am I teaching them to be terrified of their bodies and any little sensation that they should happen to feel? Or am I teaching them to trust their body and they'll be okay? Worthy of thought. Give it some consideration, especially if you've got kids. And even if you don't, and you're health anxious, ask yourself, am I teaching myself to stay health anxious? Or am I starting to shift and learn and adjust to trust myself and my body more and teach myself safety? So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to wrap it up here. Got a group coaching call starting up fairly soon. And as always, I love you. And as always, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.